right, we woke up nice and early this morning, except for this one. This one slept in, thankfully. We're actually headed back to the US for about a 5-week trip, and so we're about ready to hit the road. Can you say hit the road?
And where are we driving to?
Papa.
To see Papa? Yeah. Are we going to Freetown?
Papa.
To see Papa.
Hey, so we're headed to Freetown, as I mentioned earlier, and we're on a little bit of a pit stop. Our driver is picking up some coal for his mom that is about half the price here as it would be in Freetown. So I want to share with you a little bit about highway travel. Number one, it's fast. In spite of the abundance of speed bumps, it is ridiculously fast how everyone goes. It's probably one of the most dangerous aspects of living in Sierra Leone, just because of some of the dangers of crashes and accidents and things like that. However, we just try to minimize as much of highway travel as possible to minimize that risk. Another aspect that this kind of makes it more dangerous is the fact that seatbelts aren't very common. I have one here, but
Not really seatbelts in the back, so that means no car seats. So we hold children in laps and hold on tight whenever we hit stops.
yeah, I feel like praying before a travel is always important no matter which country you're living in, but I feel like we pray more fervently for safety while traveling, while living here. Another thing is checkpoints. Checkpoints are interesting. When I first moved here, they were really kind of anxiety inducing, just because you see these guys with guns asking for documentation and they take your passport and they walk. Anyway, it's kind of a nerve-wracking thing. However, after being here for a while, it's really not. We never had a terrible experience with that, and we've kind of known how to talk to them and kind of what they're for. So that's just a few little tidbits about highway travel. You get Van Damme? You get Van Damme? Five? Okay, well, we're trying something different actually this trip. Instead of going directly to the airport from Bo, we're actually going to spend the night in Freetown, which is just south of Leone. And so the benefit of that is we're kind of breaking out the travel in 2 different days, the in-country travel today, and then we'll start our international flights tomorrow. And so that'll make it a little bit less daunting. It's a very tiring experience, as you can imagine, over 30 hours from the time we get to the airport to when we finally reach our destination in the US. And so being able to add on to that, a lot of in-country travel is just something that makes an exhausting experience even more exhausting. And so we're actually breaking it up. But that gives us a wonderful opportunity to be able to spend some time in Freetown. And so we have a few activities planned for the afternoon that will hopefully be refreshing to us. Okay, day one recap. We successfully and safely made it here to Freetown. Once we got settled in the hotel, we were able to go to a playground and play with Eden, and that's a blast. And then magic happened when for the first time in over a year, I had Chinese, and it was beautiful. So anyway, beautiful day, wonderful day. Tomorrow we'll wake up, kind of have a slow morning, then we'll make our way over to the airport.
Daisies blooming, sundress swaying in the breeze.
So right now we are on the water taxi headed from Freetown to the airport. The reason why we have to take a water taxi is because the airport is not actually in Freetown. It's on the other side of a body of water. So we're currently on our way. It's about a 30-minute ride. Not too long.
It's got me moving my own feet. The greatest feeling that I could ever dare to dream is you forever moving next to me.
All right, well, the audio in this will probably be too bad to use, but might as well debrief you guys on what just went down. So basically, we've been trying to figure out problems here at the airport for about maybe 3 hours, I'd say. Looked pretty bleak there for a bit, but in typical Sierra Leonean fashion, you just keep talking enough and you'll get things sorted out. So we're about to board the plane and we'll see you guys in Brussels.
Their colors changing like the tides. Bend down and take me. Darling, would you be mine? And I hope you know I will.
Little pre-flight snack.
Let's not waste time. We'll take this slow. You got miles behind us, but miles to go. So let's just break this down to the simplest truth. You and I as one will always be better than two. Let's not waste time. We'll take this slow.
You say flight number 2.
So let's just break this down to the simplest truth. You and I as one will always be better than two. Yeah, you and I as one will always be better than.
All right, so we're at the last layover before our final destination in Indianapolis, Indiana, as we've traveled from our home in Sierra Leone back here to spend time with brethren and with family. And so it's a pretty good time, I think, to be able to chat just super briefly about logistics for those who are curious about how long it takes to get from A to B when you're living in West Africa. And so just off the bat, from when you first step foot in a plane in Sierra Leone to when I reach my final destination here in the States, typically that process will span 3 different flights with 2 different layovers, and that will take about 25 hours. Some, depending upon layovers and connections, will be more than that, some a little bit less than that, but go and count on at least 25 hours. And so then on top of that 25 hours, you need to add transportation time to the airport. So we live 4 hours from the airport, so that's adding 4 hours on top of that. You also need to arrive at the airport significantly early, especially with all these COVID requirements and protocols going on. So we typically arrive at the airport about 4 hours early. And that might not be, that might be actually overkill for some of you people that don't have kids. I think kids slows that down a lot with a lot of documentation that we have to prove on all that. And so maybe you'll be able to find a quicker experience than we have. But this past time, it took us every bit of 4 hours to get through there, and we were the last ones on the plane. So that's something that just to keep in mind. So that's 4 hours at the airport, you need to get there early. That's 4 hours on the road that you need to account for. However, car problems, vehicle problems happens all the time. And so Eden wants to say hello. Hi.
Hi.
And so I really recommend you leaving at least 2 hours earlier to account for possible challenges mechanically on the road. And so that's something that means I'm not going to leave 4 hours early in order to get to the airport. I'm going to leave 6 hours, to make that trip. And so in addition to that, then at least for us, while, obviously we're living here in Indiana, our family's residence is about an hour and a half from the nearest airport. And so then you add about 2 hours onto that. So I'm too far along in my travels to be able to even contemplate the possibility of doing all that math on the top of my head. And so I'm just gonna add that number here in the edit after I've gotten a night's rest to be able to share with you about that. So obviously sometimes it could be less than that, sometimes more, but on average, this is about the number of hours traveling that you can prepare for if you're wanting to travel to or from a place like Sierra Leone. Well, we made it. So I think it's like 3:30 a.m. Saturday morning. We left on Friday, and I am exhausted. And I think Sonia's even more tired than I am. So I'm going to keep this super brief. I can't even think of what would be a good way of ending this. I'll probably throw up a graphic at the end of all of this, sharing some of the different details of the length and other details that I can't really think about this trip. Anyway, I'm just gonna stop talking right now and just go to bed. So I'll catch you later.